Pretty much everyone has those types of Pokemon that they love, but when they evolve, it's just like, ugh. That's why I have had an ongoing series on the channel where I create new evolutions for Pokemon that I don't like, or new versions of their evolutions. It's been a fun series to do, and I am here today with a brand new installment. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this video is naturally going to be about content that the Pokemon games unfortunately don't have, such as the tanks, ships, and jets that the sponsor of today's video, War Thunder, does have. War Thunder is a free multiplayer game that's all about battling it out with those aforementioned tanks, ships, and jets, and it's available on PlayStation and Xbox, as well as PC and Mac. It's currently a really good time to jump into War Thunder because the game just dropped its Apex Predators update, which includes over 40 new and updated models for the game's various vehicles and brings brand new vehicles into the mix as well, such as the F-16, MiG-29, and Tornado fighter jets. It's not just the air battles getting love though, because for ground battles, the update also introduces a brand new map, Gold Quarry, and a reworked winter-themed version of the game's Poland map. The game is even upgrading the game's soundtrack and bringing in brand new voiceover effects for commands during naval battles. You can download and play War Thunder for free with the link in the description below, and if you do, you're also going to get a bunch of in-game goodies for free if you're a new player, or if you haven't played for 6 or more months, including 500,000 Silver Lions, a week's worth of renting legendary German ground vehicles, 3 premium vehicles to keep permanently, XP boosters, a week of premium account access, and more. These free bonuses won't last long, so grab them today and download the game with the link in my description, and a big thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. The first Pokemon we're going to feature in this video is also the newest Pokemon we're going to be talking about, and that would be Sneezler. I don't really think I'm alone when I say that upon seeing Sneezler for the first time, I had that reaction that I mentioned earlier. Sneasel has obviously always been a great Pokemon. Its evolution Weavile is awesome, and Hisuian Sneasel is great too. So Sneezler was a pretty big disappointment for me, considering it was an additional evolution of an amazing Pokemon who already had an amazing evolution as well, so there was tons of potential here. Personally, I just feel like Sneezler, both in name and appearance, is a little too close to Sneasel, and it doesn't change enough upon evolving. On top of that, it also has the problem of being a little too humanoid. I don't have anything against humanoid Pokemon per se, but there's definitely a line that they can cross where they look too humanoid, and Sneezler definitely crosses that line for me. So I basically wanted to design a new version of Sneezler with these critiques in mind, and come up with something that lived up to its potential a little better in my opinion, and that is how we came up with Vilim. Now, I say we because all the artwork in this video was done by my good friend Alestiva076, who does amazing work, so be sure to check him out with the links below. Despite being more or less a redesign of Sneezler, I also came up with the name Vilim for this design, since Sneezler's name, as mentioned, was one of the specific problems I had with it. The name Vilim comes from vile, like its counterpart Weavile, limb, referring to its very large claws that it uses for climbing, and climb, since it is known and used as a climbing Pokemon in the games. Design-wise, the basic goal was basically to just take it out of that humanoid state that makes Sneezler look so awkward in my opinion, and this resulted in us giving Vilim more of a monstrous-like appearance instead, which honestly works because not only do these traits make the design look a lot cooler in my opinion, but it also fits in quite nicely with Sneezler's freakishly large claws. Having a more monstrous appearance like this can help give context as to why its claws are so big in the first place, instead of it just having big claws for the heck of it. Overall, we honestly didn't make a ton of changes here, but the changes we did make makes for a much cooler looking design as far as I'm concerned that would have been a lot more fun to use and come across in Legends Arceus. The next Pokemon we are going to take a look at here is Kommo-o. I have always disliked Kommo-o because it has easily got one of the busiest, messiest, and jankiest designs in all of Pokemon. And if I had to describe why I don't like it, those would be the exact words I would use. I just think it looks way too busy and messy, and that was a big disappointment since, as a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, there was obviously a lot of anticipation for what this Pokemon was going to be like before it was revealed, especially because it has an interesting type combo which had never been used before at the time, and its pre-evolution Jangmo-o is awesome, at least in my opinion anyway. So with that in mind, I basically wanted to make a version of Kommo-o that kept what was good about the Pokemon without all the messy jankiness, and ultimately, this is what we came up with. Personally, I feel like this version of Kommo-o looks much cleaner and more tidy, for lack of a better term, while still allowing Kommo-o to do what it was trying to do in the first place. It's still got its scales, but they're a little more strategically placed this time around, and not just flung all over its body. And it even takes those minor, feather-like accents on Kommo-o's official design and expands on them a little bit, which gives the design a cool look in my opinion that allows it to be a natural blend of a couple different elements, instead of too much of just one with its scales. This also gives it a sort of royal, kingly kind of vibe in my opinion too, which also works well for Kommo-o as the final evolution of a pseudo-legendary line. Overall, Kommo-o, despite its status, is a Pokemon that I would never consider using because of its design. But if it had been touched up just a tad and looked something like this instead, it would have been a Pokemon that I actually would have enjoyed quite a lot. For our third Pokemon of the video, we're gonna step back one generation and highlight Trevenant next. I have had a personal vendetta against Trevenant for basically its entire existence, because as it currently stands right now, its pre-evolution Phantump is my second favorite Pokemon ever. I love everything about it, but when it evolves into Trevenant, everything about this Pokemon is ruined for me. While Phantump is cool, cute, and creative, Trevenant is the definition of generic in my mind. To me, it's just a basic tree monster, something that you could see in just about any other RPG without it even having to look really any different at all to fit in. When it comes to Pokemon though, the Pokemon designs are what we love about the franchise the most, and Trevenant just doesn't have that Pokemon flair in my opinion, which is why I wanted to try and give it some of that flair with this design. Now, another thing I also wanted to do with a Trevenant redesign / replacement is bring it a little closer to what its pre-evolution Phantump did, since as I mentioned, I love Phantump and think it's a fantastic Pokemon who really exemplifies that Pokemon flair. This resulted in this new version of Phantump not just being a generic tree monster, but rather more of a spirit like its pre-evolution. However, it's a spirit that has a purpose, as its concept is that it sits and waits patiently for a passerby, appearing as if it is just a tree. But then, when someone gets too close, it leaps out of the ground and its truly ghostly appearance is revealed. This is exactly the kind of thing that Trevenant needed in my opinion, because it allows the Pokemon to still be a tree without literally just being a tree. It's that level of creativity that we love other Pokemon designs so much for, and with a pre-evolution as good as Phantump, I just felt like Trevenant had the opportunity to do that too. So this is what I would have done with the Pokemon if I had the chance to design a Phantump evolution. With that said though, what do you think about it? And what do you think about these other two redesigns as well? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and if you already like these Pokemon the way they are, then that's fine too, because as I said throughout the video, this is all just my own opinion. With that said, I will be back with another video very soon, and until then, as always, thank you all so much for watching this one. I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.